Hey everyone, you're here today with Mark Boutwell here at Perfect Gardens TV. Today we have a series of different videos. We're going to be actually assembling our grow room behind you with Dl Wholesale. Dl Wholesale is one of my vendors, so it's great to be able to come here today, pull products off the shelf and assemble them for you one by one, showing you from A to Z of what you can use, what's the essentials you're going to need in your grow room, and then the accessories of being able to take your harvest and be able to put it into other consumable products that you're able to use and enjoy throughout the entire year, which also keeps expanding your interest in your gardening and get you beyond just the soil and the pot and the lights, and get you into other avenues of manufacturing and other forms of cultivation. Because what do you do after you grow a tomato, right? You have to eat it, you have to cook it, you have to add spices to it, and by doing that, it creates a nice, enjoyable dinner, home cooked meal. Today, we're here with Manny. Manny is one of the employees here at Dl Wholesale. Manny, please tell me a little bit about yourself.
I've been working here at Dl Wholesale in the sales department for the past year and a half. I have 10 years of experience in the cultivation industry, mostly small-scale cultivation when I realized that I wanted to increase the quality of the products that I was producing. I saw what I could produce when putting a little bit of effort and a little bit of scientific knowledge. I saw the minimal impact, and just that difference made a huge quality difference. And I thought, what would happen if I could put products that were focused on cultivation and improving quality needs? And that's when I realized I wanted to get into cultivation, because it took technology, which I am a guru with techie stuff, and growing plants. It kind of was hand in hand, figuring out products and how to use them with techie know-how.
And anyone that knows Dl Wholesale and has seen their product lines over the years grow and expand, they know that Dl Wholesale is one of those companies that's not afraid to bring new products and new innovation to the market, which actually has real life application. So let's go ahead and today get started with some of the first products we're going to be discussing, and we're going to build out a grow room. Thank you so much, and once again, if you like this video, please give us a thumbs up, and if you are not subscribed, subscribe to the videos, subscribe down below so that you can watch the next potentially 20 to 30 videos building out this grow room behind us. Thank you so much, and let's get going. Let it just do its thing. Whatever audio picks up, it picks up, and
Oh yeah.
I like your conversations. You know, they call it, right, have you ever heard of the word religion, right? Religious, really. Or breaking of the bread, right? All these different ceremonial experiences, and in a lot of, like, man has put all these different experiences into one single book, and so now all these different words are related to religion, and depending upon where you sit with that, it could be like, no, I don't really, breaking of the bread, not a fucking another religious guy, man. It's like, shit. Or you're like, it's like
It's a ceremony.
It's a ceremony. We're breaking bread, and we're having we're taking a moment, and we're being extremely present, and we're putting value to it in our own manner. You know what I'm saying? And I just like the way the guy used his words, breaking the bread. I like that's a good way to describe it. You know?
For sure.
Yeah, so that's kind of like
builds appreciation for the food that you're digesting.
Totally, exactly. You hit it on the dot. That's exactly where I was going with that. Exactly.
Going back to the ceremony, it's like not everyone just like like how I'm doing right now. I'm just chowing in because I'm so hungry. But it's like
We all do that.
But sometimes you take a moment and just like sit and like think about maybe where it came from, or just like
Who cooked it?
yeah,
Who prepared it? What was their energy like? You know, and then you begin to be like, oh, good home cooked meal versus, you know, why is that? Some moms say like that special ingredient. Have you ever? I just
love.
heard. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Love, right? And did the person that prepared this food, did they prepare it with love, or it's not too late? You know, like we can give it some love before we eat into it. You know,
For sure.
and then this is
Do you want to?
If you want, I don't care. I just take the time to just smell it.
We really can if you want.
I do. I smell it.
Words.
You could do whatever you want. There's no point to, for me. I just smell it until I can smell it. I start to eat it until I eat, and then I'm like, okay, all right, I took enough fucking time, and I'm hungry. You know what I mean? Like, but that's my own thing. I'm just sharing my own process. You could do whatever you want. It's not. It's my. I have my
for
thing.
Sure. Yeah.
I can smell it. I'm good to go. You know, I'm pretty hungry too. You know, we're just having a conversation. If you want to, we can. I'll share that space with you.
I would. No,
okay,
I definitely would like to.
Yeah.
See.
Let's do it. Thank you for this time. You know, to connect with Manny and this experience, breaking some bread. Please nourish this food into my body, and yeah, thank you for this time.
I appreciate the time that I was allowed to have with Mark, and this is a great meeting, and I'm feeling like a lot of production is going to get done today, and a lot of creativity in the mind.
Amen, brother.
Amen.
Appreciate it.
That was great.
Yeah.
That was kind of like praying, but like on a more humanistic level.
Oh yeah,
that was crazy. That was cool.
Couple years ago, I was like 26, and me and my mom got in a big old fight. And I was like, I don't believe in God, you know, and I was just at that point, military, all that other stuff. And so I was like, and then like 2 years later, I picked up the dictionary, and there's like 7 different definitions of religion. Mm-hmm. All of them were cult following, religious, strong conviction, religious belief. The last one said a dedicated practice. And I was like, oh, dedicated means just making an effort, and practice just doesn't mean perfect. You know, it's like, so you're saying the way you eat, the way you sleep, the way you make love, all of it. These can be different religions, you know, they can each be like different gods. And then that's why I was like, oh, that's why one guy's saying you can't have all these gods, but that guy figured it out. You know, you can have a whole bunch of different gods actually, you know, and you can be the best. You keep shooting to be the best for yourself at any present moment. Make that your religion, and oh, I get it. I was like, oh, I hear this other guy's perspective now. I never thought about it from the many gods perspective. I just heard that was bad, so I never really considered having a whole bunch of gods could be good. You know, does that make sense? And yeah. Anyways, so yeah.
No, that's a cool perspective. Like thinking like each thing you do is like a different god.
Mm-hmm. It allows you to just do it to the best of your ability every day, every moment. It's like, oh, okay.
Everything you do is like a different godly presence. Like that is wild. You hit it on the nail when you were like, fucking. I was like, dude, having sex. If I was a god having sex, are you? I mean, I guess I kind of am in my own right, but like,
you can create life in that moment.
You do.
How are you not God in that moment?
You are, for sure. That's crazy. Changed my perspective on everything now.
Right. that made me really thinking about what was Jesus Christ actually trying to teach versus all these other fucking people trying to say what he was teaching. You know what I mean? And what was he trying to say? You know?
Oh, that's funny. So my real name is Emmanuel, and that means God is with us.
Love that shit. I got some goosebumps right there. That's cool. You're empowering your own name.
Yeah. I'm not too religious though. Like I was brought up. My parents are super religious. Like my grandparents are missionaries. They have their own church in Japan, but I just haven't really like pursued it for myself.
I'm only religious in making this film today.
Hell yeah, for sure.
You know? I'm being light with the moment, but
yeah,
I know what you mean too. And it allows me to listen to their stories better too, with better ears. You know, like I'm trying to like interpret their religion. You know, like what is this guy trying to say? Because I hate to tell him he's a little crazy. But I'm not here to tell him he's crazy. I'm just gonna hear him out, you know.
Well, crazy for me, like, dude, my dad is bipolar type 1 and schizophrenic, so like I've been exposed to like crazy shit. So like,
Did we talk about schizophrenia today?
not at all.
My ex-wife's schizophrenic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
it's
sure.
really helped me think more about where people exist in a little bit better.
It's not diagnosed. My dad's not diagnosed. I mean, he is diagnosed, but they can't put a label on it.
You can tell.
Yeah.
Once you start to describe, once the society agrees on certain types of characteristics that fit in a certain box, and then you apply it to the percentage of time you exist in that reality. You know what I mean? Like if you exist in that reality more than 20%, you gotta say, okay, this person lives in a bipolar reality that more than 20% of his waking up, walking around, eating food reality, not sleeping reality, but
right. His daily routines, everything
Absolutely.
is affected by. There's a whole filter. There's a whole like change.
Exactly. When you begin to do that, you're like, okay, I realize I'm existing in a bipolar reality as well. How much of this influence am I going to be embracing? I want to get away from it, but I have to be around it because it's my father. You know, it's no matter what, it's going to be. So then, by you acknowledging it, you begin to create the polar reality, which can combat it and balance it out. But if you don't embrace it, identify it, and can see the reality for what it is and call it for what it is, then you're as delusional as
Right, for sure.
you know the reality you live in.
If I just go along with
it, just as crazy. But that's the hard work. That's the growth in life. That's the higher consciousness. That's you. Your father. I want to see your father. I want to identify you here. Those people helped get you here to get to that point where you could be younger in life to identify it and course correct it.
I do see a lot of patterns that I wish I could fix in him, but it's like he's old, so it's like
Yeah. What reality do you think what reality is the most non-resistive reality you think you could want to exist with your father in?
well, I'm just like growing plants at home and just doing whatever. Because they kind of get worried. Like, they're just paranoid in their own right because it's their home. Even though it's legal to have 6 plants in California, everybody is allowed 6 plants. And that's the reason why I built the greenhouse.
So peace. You're saying
Yeah,
like,
they like to keep the peace and harmony,
mm,
but I kind of am because I just want to do things.
mm-hmm.
So like it's just getting in their way of their peace and harmony.
So it's like and I feel you on that. You know, I think that's probably every generation. You know, the next generation. If you care in some level, right? People want peace. You know, people. You know, like you want to be able to do what you're passionate in doing without it affecting someone else's emotional state.
Mm-hmm.
And they, no, I feel you. It's same with my father too. It's like him and guns, you know, or him and Trump, or him and fucking whatever's on C-SPAN or whatever, you know. And for me, I with him, I a couple years ago, I just realized like I just want peace with him. You know, if it's not having the damn, I mean, this is me getting older though. You know, if it's me not having a stupid gun, I have to get dismount. I have to give my gun to a friend to hold on to, so he's peaceful. But it wasn't a fast process either. It took me years. You know, I mean, we've been living together and have had existed together since birth. So we have interwoven lives together, and for a father and son, or a mother and daughter, or children to think you could just break those ties instantly. No, it's like I've been existing. You had sex, you know, and not me. Like I'm not here because of me.
Right,
I'm here because of fucking you.
Yeah,
you know, take some fucking responsibility and give me a fucking break. Not like to get out of the fucking house with my shit and don't just throw my shit out. You know what I mean? Like give me a break in some level, and you gotta.
It's like they spite you more.
Yeah, absolutely. And also parents and people think that the value of land and money was the same as if it was 50 years ago when they were growing up. No, yeah, you could go to college, have a job, and have a family, and all afford that on the minimum wage in the 50s and 60s. You can't do that shit now. You have to have 2-3 jobs. It just, you know, and then you're caught up in the whole bullshit with the like commercialism and bills, and no matter what, by the time you get out of high school, you already have bills with cell phones or and all these other things, so you're already kind of going in the debt aspect of world things. So there's not excuses, but they are things of reality that have to be considered that weren't there. Those distractions weren't there when they were growing up. Those bills, those hinderings, absolutely, they weren't there. And so it's like, and then also the amount of people and density and supply and demand and accessibility and value of secrets and versus everything just being accessible now. There's so many things that have altered and changed in a 2-3 decade period. I don't want to say it's unfair because that's not a good word, because I don't want to hinder someone, but there's a sharp learning curve.
Technology is moving faster than it ever has. Like it's like the more it moves fast, the more it keeps like it's exponentiating on itself.
Mm-hmm.
Like this cannabis industry, this is insane. Like 10 years ago, we didn't have this, but now, like what? Now I could only imagine what could happen in 10 years. Like holy shit.
When we got in trouble in 2012, do you know how many people have the knowledge to be able to put 700, 1,000 lights together? You know what I'm saying? And have the knowledge to work with a level of electricity, because it's not like you can just turn on all the lights all at once. You know, it pulls a lot of amperage, right? So to be able to so the amount of knowledge and experience needed to be able to turn on 700 lights and not blow out the electricity poles coming in. All that stuff matters, you know. You gotta have a healthy understanding and experience to understand that if you
Kinda.
do this, okay,
Kinda.
you're busted day one. Like,
Yeah.
why are you trying to plug in all these lights?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like what's going on here? You know,
Jeez.
and to keep an operation going for a few years.
That's
You know what I'm saying?
crazy.
4 years. You know, so to just keep it going without under the detection of radar and empath, you have to pay your bills. You know, all this other shit. It's
You weren't stealing it? You weren't stealing stuff?
No. Because every single rule you break in that world is a penalty, and some of them are civil and some of them are criminal. And to understand the rules you're breaking and the consequences that follow them allow you to weigh your risk versus reward.
So you're only breaking civil crimes, basically?
Absolutely.
So growing marijuana is a civil crime?
Now it is.
Oh, now it is. Okay.
Mm-hmm. During that time, though, because the laws were changing and there was a gray area, there was a changing of criminal to civil, which created keeping the value of the product high because of unsureties, but only for a number of years left until it ended up
the medical market, right?
changing. The medical market, the gray market, absolutely. Yeah.
Long live Prop 215. That's where I got all my knowledge. So I'm only 24. I've only been really at it since I was like 17, 18. So I have 6. You probably have like
10 years.
10 years.
But our family came from large scale agriculture.
Okay, for sure. So you already had a basic knowledge
of how to for major production for agriculture.
Damn.
For lettuce, specifically harvesting, packaging, and distributing lettuce. My parents, they developed the systems and processes for harvesting, packaging, and distributing lettuce. So when they came into Monterey County, they were hired by, they started working for a company. They started their own company. Then they ended up getting picked up by, which became Badiano. But earlier it was called like Disc Anil and Company, and there was a series of mergers and acquisitions until it became until Badiano ended up absorbing all these other companies, and my parents were underneath those umbrellas of those other companies. And my father came from Cal Poly, master in agriculture, and this is where we're talking about knowledge, right? So how many people have this knowledge and can apply it in a real life world experience, which becomes profitable for corporations to scale up. So my father and my mother started working in the fields when she was 15, and by the age of 18, because she lied on her applications, by the age of 18, she had something like 2,000 people working underneath her. And they thought she was like 21, 22, 23, you know, so they thought she was a lot older, but she was actually much younger. And so by this time, but during that time, you have to think about all these things. A whole bunch of things were happening during large scale agriculture at the time. They would think that if you put the toilets a half mile down, and people were going to the restroom right there in the fields, that would increase production because they didn't have to walk to the restroom. You know what I'm saying?
That's a dumb.
But then
they thought they were increasing productivity to.
Exactly, by limiting people's access to things, and then because there wasn't liability consideration, there wasn't E. coli scares and all these other things. It was just fertilizer. Poop was fertilizer. 40 years ago, 50 years ago. So there's this whole mindset shift, also of thousands of years of ways of doing it. The Italians coming over and that whole way of doing it coming over here to Monterey County, basically. And then you have to think about all these mindset shifts that have to happen. And so when it started in production, my parents started working with Biennial. It was 1,500 pounds. They would harvest, package, and distribute less an hour. In 17 years, my parents took it to close to 64,000 pounds an hour. So harvesting, packaging, and distributing lettuce, and mix like carrots and other stuff. So it started with them realizing how to remove the core out of lettuce, because that was a very complicated and dangerous process. And then it went to realizing if we shred the lettuce and put it into 20-pound, 10-pound bags, it's easier to consume. And then my parents, specifically my father, figured out how to make chlorine cost efficient to use for putting on lettuce, so they would have extended shelf life.
Oh.
Which allowed people to, it killed the bacteria, which allowed people to.
They still do it that way?
Yeah.
They just put chlorine on.
Yeah.
To keep lettuce.
Yeah, it's horrible.
That's why you wash those lettuce.
It's horrible.
Holy shit.
Yes.
That's crazy. Yeah. I did not know that, but now I know that. I'm gonna.
My parents unconsciously are responsible for why we're capable of harvesting 97% of the world's land and agriculture, because these same systems processes were adapted to other industries as well.
Because you have to start somewhere to get somewhere. You have to have an initial actual product. Because people, nothing just comes out of thin air.
Absolutely. Now they're capable of harvesting close to over over 100,000 pounds an hour. When you get all the work crews and all the people going at starting at 2:00 in the morning, their peak production of harvesting, packaging, and they're really all those people going how fast they can go. I think if I remember straight, it's over 100,000 pounds an hour now. Yeah, harvesting, packaging, where the strawberries are harvested and they're in Russia in 24 hours.
Fuck.
You get what I'm saying? It's that's major production shit. It's crazy. This is all nothing compared to what's actually happening at a large scale for food production. That's why there's just such a scare to put a cap on the growth of medical plants. Because once you begin to grow medical plants in large scale, it's abundant. Everything's abundant. But that's why they got to create a scarcity around all products to increase the value, because of how abundant everything actually is. The thing that's not abundant though is the poor practices of production and chemical production, and chemicals.
The effect on the land.
The effect on the land, exactly. That's what makes things no longer abundant. So,
just because you could once plant in a soil doesn't mean you always will be able to.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. How are you feeling? Feeling better? Food? Give a little time to digest. Now you talk quick.
You want anything to drink?
Oh.
I could get you something to drink.
I got a bottle of water. I was going to ask you. I wasn't sure.